learning preferences and you think about your own personality, you can think about kind of how you are as a person, and if you go back to chapter 4 and we talked about social wellness, we talked about extroverts, introverts, thinking, feeling, sensing, intuitive, and how which personality type you tend to be. And again, you're probably a mixture of a few. Then you get a good sense of how you learn, what type of people you learn best with, and honestly, you learn a lot about yourself and your critical thinking skills at the same time. When we talk about what motivates us to learn, right? It's intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So, intrinsic, pretty simple, comes from within. Intrinsic comes inside of you. You do something because you enjoy it, do something because you get a benefit from it. Extrinsic means the result of someone else giving you a reason to do it. For example, me having you do work in kinesiology 101. It may not always be intrinsic. In fact, it's probably mostly extrinsic. So as we look at these different personality and learning preferences, we have what's called a locus of control. Locus means place. So where do you place the responsibility for control over your life? Are you internal? So does most of the things that you do and most of your motivation for doing things, are they internal or are they external? So you say to yourself, okay, hey, I do most of the things I do because of other people, because my parents make me do this, or because my friends make me do this, or do you say, nope, I completely have control of my thoughts and my ideas, and I do everything only if I want to do it and only if I see the benefit. Again, more a little bit about locus of control, internal locus control. There's lots of advantages there. Internal locus control, more likely to have higher achievement in college. Why? Because you are there for that reason. If you're there for another reason, might be tough. Let me give you a good example. Let me give you a story. So I would say that I probably, and I think this can change. I do. Because my motivation for going to college was certainly external. It was what everybody in my family did. My mother was a school teacher. My father didn't go to college, but he was dead set on making sure all of us did. And I played sport. So that coach wanted me to come to college and play soccer. So that's what I did. Here's the deal. Those are all external locus, right? Those are all things that are outside. But when I began to value my education, when I began to understand the importance of my college degree, probably somewhere around the middle of my sophomore year, suddenly my grades got better. My approach to learning became more mature. And I think my maturity towards college changed in that regard. And so then for the rest of my school, and then when I went on to get my master's degree and so on, it was much more of an internal locus of control. And as a result, I was much more successful. So it can change. Choices. When we make choices, it means we're choosing something based upon a belief, based upon how we see things. Okay? Most good decisions involve the steps of making good decisions, choosing these 6 things. Okay? The first choice you must make is between the goal of choosing the absolute best and the goal of choosing something that is good enough. Most of the time, we choose good enough. Unfortunately, that's human nature many, many times, but not for all of us and not all the time. When we are someone who really seeks only the best option, then we're what we call a maximizer. If we are someone who doesn't always seek the best option, then you see the word there. That is not a misspelling, but it is a weird one. And we satisfice. Okay, we settle for something that's good enough. That doesn't always cut it, as we all know. Good enough normally simply isn't, well, good enough. So, to be a maximizer, we have to basically tell ourselves we can't settle for mediocre. We have to expect certain things. I like this list down here at the bottom of this slide, 1 through 6, where it talks about how maximizers behave. ask yourself, do you behave in this way? Are these things that you would say? In some cases, you're probably a maximizer. In other cases, when you're making some choices, you're probably not. That's fine, as long as you know the difference. Because when you're not getting the maximizer effect, right? When you're not doing something that's like a maximizer, then you're basically know that there is a possibility that you're falling short. Another aspect of your intellectual wellness is the idea of multiple intelligences. This is a study that was done by Howard Gardner. Basically, what he says is there's 8 different types of intelligences: musical, interpersonal, spatial, logical, mathematical, bodily, kinesthetic, linguistic, interpersonal, naturalist. Again, many of you probably are very strong in one area, you're probably pretty good in a couple of others, and then maybe you're not so good at any of them, or at a few of them. So again, this is a study by a Harvard professor. Its significance can be debated. But when we look at mindfulness, in other words, how we actually look at the life in general, how do we receive information? Mindfulness occurs through practices which include non-judgmental acceptance and being open to experiences, sensations, thoughts, and emotions. Mindfulness, that is a definition by the 2 authors here of Designing Positive Psychology. But mindfulness is an interesting word because we can be mindful. Being mindful is being aware, and I don't know that it's always. I would disagree somewhat. I don't know that it always means that it's an acceptance or non-judgmental. That's a debate between, I suppose, myself and those authors. However, if we want to practice mindfulness, we can do that by these things here. And mindfulness, it promotes curiosity. Again, I think sometimes we confuse mindfulness with the idea of being accepting. I think mindfulness is being tolerant. It's not necessarily being accepting, because there are some things we're not going to accept if they counter our beliefs and so forth. Daniel Siegel, MD, being mindfully aware, attaining to the richness of our experiences, creates scientifically recognized enhancements to our physiology, our mental functions, and our interpersonal relationships. He describes the term mindful brain as the notion that our awareness or our mindful paying attention or taking care is related to our mind and our brain. So when we practice mindfulness, Dr. Siegel also says the process of attunement, which is the examination of how one person focuses attention on the internal world of another, the brain may grow in ways that promote balance, self-regulation, and process called neural integration, which enables flexibility and understanding. I read that to you because it seems to be important in our study of mindfulness. You'll use this and you'll see this more when you're in doing your online work. But the idea of attunement is the key word here. The examination of how one person focuses attention on the internal world of another, being attuned, being again aware of your place and aware of someone else's, and how those may not always go together well. Again, practicing mindfulness. How might one cultivate such mindfulness? Lots of studies can be shown on this topic. And that's it. That is the lesson for chapter 6. If you have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to reach out through email or ACE. Again, make sure you're checking ACE for all of the assignments. Make sure you're going to ACE for the syllabus and all the information that's there.